Hello, everyone, and welcome to Walking Through the Bible. Kill me now. I've heard that expression many times, sometimes said in jest or frustration, but other times it is meant with actual seriousness by someone who would rather die than live. While nobody in their right mind truly wants to hasten their death, someone who is tormented might have a different opinion. Job was one of those people. He was in absolute agony. At the beginning of chapter 3, he cursed the day of his birth and conception, wishing that he had never been born. Of course, that was impossible, but Job was not done. He continues in his grief as we continue in chapter 3. So if you have a Bible with you, you can turn to the book of Job, to chapter 3. We're going to be reading from verses 11 to 26. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry, just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Job chapter 3, beginning of verse 11. Why did I not die at birth? Why did I not perish when I came from the womb? Why did the knees receive me? Or why the breasts that I should nurse? For now I should have lain still and be quiet. I would have been asleep. Then I would have been at rest with kings and counselors of the earth, who built ruins for themselves, or with princes who had gold, who had filled their houses with silver. Or why was I not hidden like a stillborn child, like infants who never saw light? There the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary are at rest. There the prisoners rest together. They do not hear the voice of the oppressor. The small and great are there, and the servant is free from his master. Why is light given to him who is in misery, and life to the bitter of soul, who long for death, but it does not come, and search for it more than hidden treasures, who rejoice exceedingly, and are glad when they can find the grave? Why is light given to a man whose way is hidden, and whom God has hedged in? For my sighing comes before I eat, and my groanings pour out like water. For the thing I greatly feared has come upon me, and what I had dreaded has happened to me. I am not at ease, nor am I quiet. I have no rest, for trouble comes. We know as readers that what Job is wanting here is impossible. One can wish that they were never born, but once they are born, you cannot change that. One can wish that you were never conceived, but once it happens, you cannot change that. Why do we do this? Because we're in extreme sorrow. We think it will help us, but more often than not, it simply leads to more agony, and for the faithful, perhaps a moment where we begin to doubt God. It is highly likely, even though we don't read of it directly, that Satan is tempting Job here into cursing God. Job does not do so, but what he does do is engage in something that is not good, wishing for death. Death is something that is inevitable unless Christ comes first. And for the Christian, with death comes the hope of eternal life. But we shouldn't be seeking to hasten our death through recklessness, or worse, through self-harm. Death will come at the proper time, but until then we should be living our lives to the glory of God, even through suffering. Job has been wishing that he had never been born. But if that wouldn't have been possible, had he had to have been born, he wished that he would have died young, either during birth, in the womb, or as a young infant, by either refusing to eat, being neglected by his parents, or by simply dying another way. This way, he would have been dead, resting with the kings, princes, and counselors of the earth, who had great power and wealth, and made a great name for themselves. In speaking this way, it shows us that Job did have faith in the afterlife, and he acknowledged that children who die young would have a part in it. This shows us that in spite of his suffering, he had not lost faith in God, even if his faith was momentarily weaker. But the afterlife wasn't just a place of rest for the rich and powerful. It was a place for the great and the small, the wicked and the weary, and the prisoner together. It was a place where the cares and toils of this earth would cease, and in that the suffering that comes from this earth would cease as well. Now in this, we do not get any picture of the torment that comes to the wicked, but that is not Job's point here. He wants his current suffering to end, and so the suffering he is focusing on is that. And in the afterlife, that suffering will cease. Let's not take Job's words here as his denial of hell, for the New Testament is clear on that place existing for those who do not obey Jesus in faith. In light of all this, of the rest that comes after death, why then are there those who are suffering forced to remain on this earth, to see its light? Why are those who long for death forced to be trapped in this life, hedged in by God, as it were, so that death never comes? Why doesn't God just kill me now and get it over with so that this suffering would end? It hurt Job to eat, and his groanings were so great that they poured out like water. He was not at ease nor quiet. He could not rest, for trouble continues to come. What a sad state for Job. He didn't know what was going on, but he knew it was bad, so he wished for death, but death never came. What is going to come next, though, is his friends are going to try to show Job why he was suffering and what he needed to do about it. This would come in the form of 3 rounds of speeches, beginning in chapter 4 and going all the way to the end of chapter 27. It will take us the next 42 lessons to cover this section, but it will give us some insight as to the thinking of man concerning suffering and the attitude of Job throughout. So we invite you back for all of those lessons. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Job chapter 4, verses 1 to 21, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. We thank you for watching Walking Through the Bible today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. But if you like this video, we ask that you consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on other videos in our series, as well as share this video among your friends so that the saving message of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.